Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Symphony of the Night 2023 Spring Randomizer Tournament. I am joined today on commentary by one of the very best Symphony of the Night players in the world, ASD. Hello, ASD, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. What's up? Hoping for a wild one.
Now, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, our runners have just a single Varda icon apiece. That is because we are in Loser's Bracket, and all Loser's Bracket matches will be a best of one. So this is a single game winner-take-all. Very exciting. ASD, how do you feel this format changes how you approach the randomizer?
Well, this will be kind of like a throwback to Season 2 safe in such a way that you, instead of like relying on density checks like we used to the last time we played the game, which was during the Season 3 tournament, this is more about following the logic, trying to like skip steps in the logic and trying to figure out what the seed wants from you. So it's all very different, to be honest. And then there's the movement options, which also add an extra layer of complexity because controlling the wolf is not that easy at all.
No, wolf is always tougher to control than it looks. There are some awkward mechanics with double back, trying to maintain your dash. There's a lot of nuance to it as well with things like air brake. And for the most part, because this wolf form is not that useful in speedruns, even in low percent wolf, we're kind of learning this stuff for the first time as a community. You know, how to optimize certain rooms. It's been pretty exciting.
Yep. So the main advantage the wolf gives you over other movement options is over like long flat terrain. So you know, like at entrance, like the way they're doing it now.
Yeah, it's very quick, and this particular preset has the advantage of greatly reducing the MP cost of wolf movement and wolf spells. So it's easier to use early on than it would be. Gives wolf even more of a chance to shine. So both runners get the death skip. That's very important. We are starting with
Very
things
nice.
like Brilliant Mail and the Mystic Pendant, which is good for MP restoration, and a Fist of Tulkas. That's a pretty good weapon.
That's an endgame weapon right there. If they don't find anything else. And we get Leapstone as our first progression ready.
So that's going to be Complexity 1. ASD, if you wouldn't mind, maybe we can get your thoughts on what Complexity is and how best to read it.
Wow.
I know it's a broad question.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, I'm terrible at counting complexity. But the way I understand it is the number of steps you need to complete a seed. The Lycanthrope preset assumes a minimum complexity of 8, which means you need 8 steps. The first one in this case being Leapstone. And as the seed progresses, we're going to see like more of these steps. Usually the second step is some form of flight, which could be bad, which could be mist plus power of mist, which could be gravity boots in this case. But yeah, we'll see.
So currently we're at Complexity layer number 1. We're trying to get all the way up to 8. Leapstone will lead us to the next progression, almost certainly. All right, let's see.
We saw Superds tried to get the cool dive kick off the Spittlebone, but he failed, unfortunately.
That can save a good amount of
Saves,
time.
like,
Yeah.
3 or 4 seconds, more or less.
Now we're seeing the fist here from Skrimpz, whereas Superds is opting for another nice kill, but with the shield rod. I feel like because you have some really good starting gear, combat is pretty set. Like, we've seen a lot of similar early game combat over the course of the bracket, but later into the match, once more options become available, it's been fun to watch how different runners approach combat differently.
Right. Yes. See, for example, I myself would have switched to Tulkas for that fight because you can do the cool like infinite flurry on the bosses and they just melt.
I believe the fist has got 2 unique special attacks, right?
Yep, that's true. You get like a nice fireball, which is very useful for bosses that are weak to fire, like Akmadan, and then the fist flurry.
Okay, so nothing. It's Spirit Orb.
Jube, do you think any of them's gonna go Colosseum first?
So I would say that is likely for both. And the reason I say that is because there was some debate about this, but I feel like Dinner Dog kind of settled it. Dinner Dog, often considered one of the very best players, if not the best, at reading and understanding complexity.
For
So
sure.
Dinner Dog recommends always going up. Oh, but as I say that, Skrimpz
Oh,
hesitating. Okay.
Hmm.
And the reason why is because you can always delay the library for later, and you're going to be getting something up here, whether it's gravity boots or jewel. So,
Well, I mean,
I think it's
even if you
a
don't get
2 and 3, right, to get something up here as opposed to library.
1 in 2, because Leapstone only unlocks this check, so that would be Form of Mist, and the Leapstone check in Keep.
Right. And then, yeah, I guess the fairy card check is flight lock technically, even though it's pretty easy for others to get right now.
Yeah, that's a cool little like logic skip, we could say.
Okay, familiar card here. So
But anyway,
yeah, it is going to be a castle key.
yeah, that's it. Even if you don't find anything here, it's cool because you I mean, at least you get the teleporter. You get an extra wall, which you can use in the future to your advantage if you know how to.
So Superds actually did a really nice job catching up here, and is now taking the lead actually.
Very nice. See, the good thing about like the early movement in the game is you can maybe lose 2 or 3 seconds to like a failed skip, but if your movement is consistent, you can make up for a lot of that lost time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, look, randomizer is always going to place a large emphasis on getting lucky, whether that's with drops or with making the right 50-50 routing decision. But in a lot of presets, this one, certainly no exception, good movement can save minutes. And if you play well, you can actually make up several checks over your opponents, so that's always a priority. Now, we see a divergence here. Skrimpz doing the route that I would take, where you just go straight to Castle Keep, whereas we're going to see the library stuff on Super's side earlier.
You're guaranteed to find something in Keep, but what if it's, say, a ring, and then the other one's lying somewhere in the library?
God, yeah, early rings
Like,
can happen.
That would be worst case scenario, but it's still a very likely possibility in this case.
Now, the cool thing about the route that Skrimpz is doing, you can get more money before the library.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So a small advantage. This is a little bit slower, but you get to the quote-unquote relevant check, the complexity check earlier, and you get some item checks on the way. Now, I'm a little bit surprised.
Nice. So,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we saw double skip from Superds first try. Really clean.
Our runners have gotten really good at that, but that is a tough trick to execute. Got to be pretty precise. I'm surprised that Skrimpz passed up the Fury Plate, especially with a Fist of Tulkas build. That could be pretty nice, but it does eat into your menu time a little bit.
So let's see what we find in the library. I don't know how far behind I am.
I can tell you that right now, the Spirit Orb came onto Super's screen. That's where we're at.
I see. Okay then. It's not that bad, just 4 to 5 seconds.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks for the heads up. So, yeah, just the Spirit Orb so far. However, this check right here, the Fairy card check, this could be important. Since this is technically a logic break here. Now, Superds making the classic mistake of relying on the horrendous, awful, truly miserable SotN dive kick. Perhaps the worst dive kick hitbox in history. The better approach is to jump on the slope with Wolf when you're going quickly. Echo in the shop. I think I saw a library card for cheap. So that's good for Superds. That's a decent consolation prize and can afford it. But Skrimpz
Did he get any money?
A little bit of money.
Oh, he's good enough for one. That's
just good enough for the one, yeah.
Nice.
Skrimpz does find gravity boots at Leapstone location. Are we going to see the Fleaman Rider attempt here? Nah. Honestly, this skip happens like 5% of the time, I feel like. It's kind of committal. I mean, if it doesn't work out, you're losing at least a handful of seconds, maybe more, so I get it.
Yeah. And you have to be very lucky with RNG.
Alrighty, there's our first
flight. There we go. Okay, so this turned out fine for Skrimpz. He's now got flight, in logic flight, and he can do the clockwise route to get to to the library.
Oh, a diamond? Wow. So there you go, Skrimpz justifying the route. Gets a diamond before the trip to library. This is going to open up so much. So Superds does have that library card, which is nice. Can always come back later pretty quickly. But Skrimpz is going to be able to just go on a shopping spree right away.
Are you a fan of checking the items in the hidden ceiling, Juke?
So the attic, for me, it really...
That's a lot of checks.
Yeah, it's a lot of checks. It's very high density. For me, at least, it depends... Ooh, Mana Prism here for Skrimpz. On what I have up to that point. If I'm totally broke, I'll give it a peek. And I also want to make sure I have a decent weapon. So in this situation, I would have considered it for sure. What about you? What are your thoughts on that?
I am a greedy man, if you know what I mean. So I like to stock up on things, especially... you're very likely to find maybe a gem up there, maybe a mana prism, maybe a good enough weapon. Because, shield rod's good for the early game, but I don't know. I'd rather have an ice brand or a fire brand, which you can double hit with. But if I've got something I can kill Dracula fairly comfortably with, I just skip everything else.
Now, another advantage of Skrimps' route, Skrimpz is going to be able to check Fire of Bat before Superds. It's nothing. But Superds will have to make a decision later on whether to skip this or commit to it later. A cool train of thought when it comes to whether you do the attic or not is you can visit the attic as a defensive play. So it's really common for runners to check it, and you don't want to lose a race because there was a Chrysogrim in the attic, which has happened, or a duplicator or something like that. So even though you feel like it's not worth it, you do it just in case your opponent finds something good there.
Okay, so we see Skrimpz entering the library. Let's see how much time he spends in the shop.
Now, there's an interesting comment in the chat here from Giovanni. Don't agree with Skrimpz. Instead, he would warp to entrance here. That's a cool route idea. So you delay library even further to just continue to chase complexity, knowing that, you don't have miss, you can't full clear the library anyway. What do you think, ASD? I'd be tempted with a diamond to just see what I can find here.
So... I don't know what to say in that case. I mean, skipping the library might be something you think about in maybe a counterproductive way, but in some cases, I think you can benefit from that. Like, for example, imagine you get, say, Bleepstone as the first progression item, like these guys have. And then you get Gravity Boots at, say, Colosseum, and then you get Jewel of Open somewhere else. You can get away with skipping the library because you're probably not going to find anything useful there. And say maybe you find Mist somewhere else, and then you find a library card, and then you get a free ticket to the library, and it's not going to cost you any backtracking. So it really depends on the case.
Now, Skrimpz just had an incredible shop. Let's go through what he picked up. Library card, at least one, maybe two, maybe three. But at least one library card, a Vorpal Blade, a Ring of Fëanor, a Fire Shield. So Skrimpz is now thinking, I'm done with minor checks. No need to check any more items. At least I hope so. Because gonna be absolutely set for the rest of the game.
Well, it seems everything's favoring Skrimpz as of now. He picked the right route. He got lots of items in the shop, lots of really useful items.
And Superds finds a whole lot of nothing at Power of Wolf. But yeah, you can see just how quickly Wolf is able to go all the way to the start and then all the way back. In other presets, it's common to either save split this check or try to route it in with the rest of Caverns. That's proven not necessary in Lycanthrope.
Yeah. I made some rough counting, and going through the long corridor in Marble Gallery takes about 8 seconds. 8 seconds. That's nothing.
Yeah.
For reference, a save split wastes like 40 seconds, 35 to 40 seconds.
Yeah, even best case scenario I've heard is 30 seconds. So it's at least
Yeah.
30 to 40. Jewel of Open for Superds in the Alchemy Lab. Okay. Um, it's still kind of tough. I mean, Superds is technically ahead right now, but Skrimpz has got just so much in terms of resources to work with. I think I'd still favor Skrimpz slightly.
Yeah, the thing is, like, bosses are gonna be a walk in the park for Skrimpz. So, like, Scylla, well, I mean, Scylla's kind of like a weak boss, but think of Grand Falloon and other, like, tougher bosses, like All Rocks as well.
Yeah, this one, what is Superds even working with? A shield rod, starting gear, no sub-weapon yet, which can be helpful with the Brilliant Mail, but no cube yet, and no axe armor drops, so... Yeah, we might see these routes equalize, and then even Skrimpz taking a lead after that All Rocks fight. Now, in this situation, with Jewel being flight locked, there is going to be a temptation to skip All Rocks, or at least save it for later. They've already got the warp, so they can just head straight down, and maybe try to route in All Rocks along with Silver Ring after Mist.
Sounds like a sensible routing option.
Is that what you do here?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm not a fan of going to the caverns without Memon statue, but in this scenario, it's very unlikely for Memon statue to be anywhere near All Rocks.
Yeah, that's a good
Oh,
point.
the Holy J. That's going to be convenient.
Feel free, if you're watching right now, live on Twitch, to post a J in the chat. Thank you very much. We do have a J emote. It's brand new. So Superds is going up. The advantage to doing this is, you know, depending on the complexity chain, Soul of Bat can be anywhere. Like, if Echo is in the chain, then Bat can be random. So we might
That's
see
true.
an All Rocks Bat, but I think we're going to see Skrimpz go down. That's my hunch.
Oh, I never noticed, by the way. They've both found Spike Breaker, which means they can full clear the entirety of the catacombs.
Oh, I see
mean,
what's going on. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that Superds didn't grab the All Rocks warp beforehand, and now is picking it up. So that's quite
I see,
slow.
I see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, better than leaving it behind, for sure.
I mean, at this point, maybe going the forbidden route would have been maybe even in terms of time loss. I don't know.
That's a little bit underexplored, I feel, the forbidden route with Lycanthrope movement. You can do some cool stuff in that hallway.
Yeah.
So when it comes to combat options for Skrimpz, we can go over these real quick. Castle 1, I think you just stick with the Vorpal. Maybe you switch to Shield Rod for All Rocks. Oh, Dragonhelm. Oh, Skrimpz. Skrimpz. No, oh no, that's a blunder.
Oh my god.
That's a big blunder. So I was just about to say, all the bosses are going to be super quick, so you might as well just stick with the Vorpal for most of them. But a Dragonhelm halves enemy defense. It's incredibly good for the whole game, especially in Castle 2. All right, Super's making the correct call to pick that up.
There we go. I mean, imagine they get to Galamoth. Dragonhelm actually does save time in that case. Maybe not for like other smaller bosses, but yeah, still a, I guess, sizable time save.
Well, just to give one example that I know that you're familiar with, ASD, in the glitchless speedrun, we go out of our way to pick up the Dragonhelm.
Oh yeah.
And it saves a lot
Indeed.
of time over some, frankly, pretty quick bosses. But it's so good on
Yep.
Dracula, and it saves marginal amounts of time on Creature, etc., that still worth grabbing. Now, what do you think about that Holy Glasses pickup? What do you do here?
Oh, tempting. No, but I'd still full clear. I mean, clear as much of as much of the first castle as I could, in this case. We have seen this scenario where you get like two seemingly valid progression items in one layer of complexity, but only one of them actually leads you to the next step. So maybe they can still find mist in the first castle.
It's true. Holy glass bait can happen, and like the whole
Yep.
complexity chain is limited to Castle 1. So you got to be careful. There's also maybe an idea where you just rush down to Spike Breaker. Since you can full clear that part, that's going to be the complexity check. But I think with 2 random Vlads on the table, you would only do that if you felt very far behind.
Yeah. So it would be straight up gamble, indeed.
Now coming up, we've got some of my favorite new school wolf movement. Innovators like Fire and others have been really pushing what you can do in the caverns, especially. I wonder if Skrimpz has learned some of this. It's tough to do, but it can save like a good 10-15 seconds over the course of the next few rooms. Let's see.
Well, and the good thing in this case is that they've got the Holy J, which means they won't get untransformed if they fall in the water. Because, using the wolf can save you time, but if you get untransformed every 5 seconds, then it wastes time more than it saves.
Yeah, in that situation, you almost are better off just shield dashing. So pretty good for the first part for Skrimpz. Has 1 bonk, that's not a big deal.
Okay.
Now here's the next part. This is the cool stuff. And yeah, this requires the J, which is a very valuable relic in Lycanthrope. And then you got an air break right here. Goes for the hop instead, that's fine. Okay, so kind of a mix of new school and old school stuff. You can go all the way to the merman statue check, just in wolf form, but this is still pretty quick. Oh. I'm waiting for ASD to catch up. ASD, I want to get your thoughts on that ring.
I saw it, yeah. The silver ring.
It's kind of an ugly pickup.
It is, because you need the other half. Okay, I mean, we could be in a seat where the other ring is in the Spike Breaker location, for example. That's like possible. But I would have liked to see mist or something you can actually use, not just the useless ring.
Well, I can give you a disaster scenario that is potentially unfolding. Current complexity chain, we've got Leapstone, Gravity Boots, Jewel of Open. Now we have a ring and we have Holy Glasses. It could very well be the second ring is also on layer 4. And that leads to Merman Statue 5, Mist 6, Echo 7. So everything's in Castle 1, but Bats in Castle 2 randomly. So yeah, there is some ugly permutations still left on the table here, for sure.
Okay, so Bat in second castle behind creature, and they both skip creature. How's that sound?
Yikes. We are still waiting for... actually, have we seen creature have something relevant in bracket? I think we might have seen it once, but honestly, I've blocked it out. I'm not a believer in
Probably
creature.
like a Vlad relic. Anyway, we're closing in on the Spike Breaker location on Skrimpz side. So let's see what's in that spot, because high complexity spots can give you a lot of information about seeds.
Absolutely.
Especially if you check them out of logic.
You can often use the information to count backwards, which can be helpful and eliminate certain possibilities.
I'm wondering why go Grand Falloon first with Mana Prisms and a library card.
Yeah, interesting question. In tournaments last year, I think most runners, it was kind of a 50-50, but I saw a lot of runners go to Spikebreaker first when both were on the table. This year it's been flipped, and I see more runners go to Grand Falloon. I think it's mostly up to runners' preference because Wolf is just so quick in these corridors.
Yeah, I guess the time loss is not that great.
But yeah, this is actually a good spot to use a Mana Prism, to your point.
Yeah.
And here we go. Superds is taking the right route. So we're going to see both of these relics at around the same time.
Oh, quick note. I've seen Superds catch up really quickly. Like, I feel he was, like, a lot further back behind earlier.
Yeah, I think better Wolf movement overall. Just power a mist here for Skrimpz. So that says I think my ring, worst case scenario, is now off the table. I think we are going to be going to Castle 2 soon. But what could this be?
If we see a Vlad relic in this spot, then all of the remaining Vlad relics are in the second castle, most likely. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's not what you want to find down here.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're going to see both runners just climb on out of Catacombs and give that a peek, then probably library card. Still a lot of options on the table. That didn't give us a ton of information. But what it does mean is that Echo of Bat and or Bat are in the complexity chain. And Final Vlad is either going to be at Holy Symbol or it's going to be at Holy Glasses. Actually, could it be? No, I don't think it can be missed. Holy Glasses for Bat 5, Merman 6, Ring 7. Nah, so another possibility I didn't consider is that Merman could lead to Mist, which would create an interesting
I was thinking
50-50.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But then Bat would need to be in the second castle, and so would Echo, I think. Right?
I believe you're right. And
Yeah.
if that is the case, what that means, because every check in Castle 2 is weighted equally, there's not like anything super complex. The only exception is Mummy, which is technically transformation locked, but that's not relevant for Lycanthrope because you start with Wolf. Bat has as good of a chance of being a Darkwing Bat as it does a Galamoth. So we might have a situation where Castle 2 is going to be strictly or mostly Wolf movement, which is a good test because this is a little bit awkward. Most runners are more used to Bat movement in Castle 2 than human movement or Wolf movement. You can save a lot of time here if you know what you're doing, and vice versa, you can lose a lot of time if you bonk or take a lot of damage.
So in this scenario, would you library card out, or would you just backtrack to Merman statue?
Well, my thought
Because-
before the bracket started was you go ahead and library card if you've got a lot to spare. But it turns out, no, the Skrimpz route here is quicker. It's better to just go ahead and climb up and go to Merman by like 30 seconds. Quite a lot.
Nice. Today I learned.
Okay, so a clarification from the chat. One person mentioned this. Glad I caught it just in time. Echo is at the shop. So that is not a
you're
part of
right.
the complexity chain, but Bat can still be part of the complexity chain. So for example,
You are
Holy
right.
Glasses 4 and then Bat 5. And then everything we talked about still holds.
So this is what I was talking about when I said like untransforming every 5 seconds waste time, because Skrimpz, I think he would have got to Merman statue a lot quicker had he not untransformed like 5 times.
Yeah, you can see that despite the fact that Skrimpz and Superds were pretty much caught up, and then Skrimpz had some movement issues, but still is making it to the boat much earlier here than Superds is.
Okay, yeah.
That being said, this race is still neck and neck.
It is very close indeed. So it'll all come down to the movement in the second castle, how familiar these guys are with, you know, all of the jumps, the gravity boots, and so on, especially without Bat.
Okay, here we go. Moment of truth.
Drum roll. Oh, it's the other ring.
Yeah, this is really looking like it's Bat Castle 2. In fact, it has to be, right? So Bat is 5, Merman 6,
Yeah,
Ring
this-
7. Wait a minute. Glasses 4, Bat 5, Merman 6, Ring 7. Yeah, this will be Final Blood. Yeah. So I guess that means that Mist is bait in this scene.
Wait. I'm thinking, could this be missed? Like realistically, imagine we're in a complexity 9 seed.
I don't know what to believe. I mean, I've been told that Complexity 9 is super rare, but we've already seen it in bracket once. You could be right. And then that'll lead to an interesting 50-50 scenario. Where actually someone might opt to, if they guess right on the first mischeck, they might just skip the other one, because they're quite slow. And
Right.
just assume it's not a random Vlad. But yeah, to recap the complexity chain while we're waiting for the clock room here. As far as we can tell, Leapstone 1, Gravity 2, Jewel 3, Holy Glasses 4, Bat 5, Merman 6, Rings 7. So if Rings leads to Miss, that'll be 9. If this is Final Vlad, it'll be 8, which is what we're expecting.
I get like a mini heart attack when I see players like going off the step, because sometimes you can softlock if you do that. I know there's like very specific circumstances for you to softlock, but it still feels, uncomfortable.
Yeah, a lot of the soft locks for this game have recently been patched. Things like Scylla soft lock or Darkwing Bat soft lock. That one I believe is still possible, which is scary.
Wow, they're literally one load room away from each other. And it's the final Vlad. Crazy.
Okay, clarification from Talik. Apparently that one's also fixed. Wow. So I'm not sure which soft locks are left that you can accidentally run into. Not many, if any at all. It's been really cool. The past 6 months, we've seen a lot of these soft lock fixed. A lot of these soft lock fixes applied. We've seen some nice accessibility options, like to reduce the flashing effects on things like Power of Sire. Got a lot of new presets, a lot of new options. It's been kind of a flurry of development for the SotN Rando. So big shout outs to Mouse and everyone else who's contributed for making an excellent Rando. All the better.
Oh my god, that drop. Did you see that drop from Skrimpz?
No, I did not.
He got a Ring of Ada
Oh.
from Duron in the library.
I guess you don't need a Dragon Helm if you're going to get a random Varda. I guess that's fine.
That was his strategy all along.
What is a Varda ring? Oh god. Trivia time. I think it's plus 30 attack, plus 10 strength, plus 10 ints, plus 10 con. ASD, did I get it?
It's plus 30 strength. I don't think it gives you raw attack value. It's plus 30 strength, 30 int, 10 luck, and 10 con, I believe.
Oh, it's 10 luck too, man. That's a good ring. That's a good ring. So, yeah, you want to put that on ASAP. Superds doesn't have access to the Vorpal or the Fire Shield. Still hasn't returned to the library, I guess. So, despite pulling ahead, here comes Skrimpz with the insane loadout. That's phase 1. Not even bothering to go for the head, that's phase 2, and there's our Form of Mist bait. So in this situation, you gotta go for Silvering. It's literally right here. But we've already seen multiple Soul of Bat skips in bracket, and they often work out. I think Superds is not really going to have that option, because Superds has to go to Outer Wall anyway to pick up I. Skrimpz might skip. What do you think, ASD?
I'm thinking, what if Bad is behind one of the misgates? Or no, maybe that's...
Oh, hang on. Is that a chain we didn't consider? Leapstone, Gravity Boots. No, because they weren't jewel locked.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been like two branches of complexity. I don't know if that's possible.
No, not. It's always linear. That's one of the nice things about complexity. It's always linear. So you can't have like an earlier branch wrap around.
But then if it doesn't count towards complexity, it could still be a rando relic.
Could always
Like
be
a
random.
rando.
Always be random.
That's it. Yeah.
No, I do think that Skrimpz is still got a library card here. I should just quickly
He
grab the
should.
warp. But, oh, okay, never mind. Okay, here's that library card. We'll know very quickly if there are any plans to gamble. Skrimpz did mention at the start of the race, and ASD, I know you were here for this, that he feels like Superds is the better player. And your mindset is very important whenever you're playing a 1v1 like this where you don't have complete information about your opponent. So, okay, we're not going to see a gamble here after all, but my thought was maybe if he feels like Superds is the favorite to win, maybe now's a chance to gamble, but going to play Disciplined instead. I think this is the right call, actually, given what we know about where Superds is.
Thing is, he might have thought that Superds is the better player, but I think he knows he's playing really well because I haven't seen him make that many mistakes. So he might be confident in his execution.
Skrimpz actually has a really interesting story about how they came to SotN. That would have been a good skip. So they got into this game very recently, November of last year. I think a lot of people can relate to how Castlevania is kind of an October, Halloween season kind of a series. So revisited this game in October, loved it, wanted to see what the speedrunners were doing, and then discovered the randomizer, and decided to give it a try. Never did speedruns before, but was a competitive Dance Dance Revolution player. Decided to give this a shot, and has made, I think, incredible strides over the past 5 months.
I've seen some very, very good times from him, especially in the Seed of the Week that Dina Doc posts weekly in the SotN Discord.
Alright,
Okay, so Skrimpz leading the charge towards the second castle.
And that is, I believe, a full clear of the first castle. So we'll have to come back. We got everything we need. Now it's going to be a test of execution. The remaining gambles on the table. Creature for sure is going to be on the table, although it might depend on if we find Bat early. And then, people have been theory crafting a potential Beelzebub skip. I think if you're going to do that, you can't double skip. I mean, you can. You can do whatever you want in this game. But it seems really irresponsible to double skip Bees and Creature. I think you pick one or the other. But I think, both players have played really well, like you said. I don't think in their minds there's going to be any need to gamble at the moment.
What's Superds? Oh, he's going to fire it back.
Yeah, never did this early. That was the downside of not doing the clockwise route.
Yep.
So let's do a quick lead check here. Teleportation starts at 38:37 for Skrimpz.
Well, Superds seems to be like around 30 seconds behind. And, I mean, honestly, you can lose 30 seconds to like a rebellious boss, to be honest. So
Absolutely.
a lot of things can happen here.
And Superds does have more experience with the SotN randomizer. A top player, and they've participated in several events in the past, so maybe an experience edge will be relevant here. Oh, also that Dragon Helm from Superds. I don't know if that's going to be as good as the Varda, but still, it's going to make some kind of a difference. Skrimpz has got the better gear and has got the lead. Superds has an experience advantage. Still going to be a very interesting finish. And there is our first random Vlad of the final two. This is a bigger lead than we thought. This is going to be around 80 seconds behind for Superds. Still very much possible, but now we're kind of reaching the territory where you need to gamble to make up that difference. It's hard to make up 80 seconds.
Sorry about that. I saw a random person connect to the voice chat, and I just disconnected them.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm not
No
monitoring
worries.
that. Appreciate it. Hi, you know, sometimes you just want to hop in and share your thoughts. All of these races have been super exciting. I get it. But please don't do that. Thank you. Okay, using one of Skrimpz using one of his 2 remaining mana prisms here. Almost totally ran out.
I was busy taking a look at the voice chat, and I didn't see what Medusa had, so I'm guessing nothing interesting.
Yeah, nothing interesting in Medusa, and then
Oh, okay.
yeah, rib at Darkwing. Alright, so I think the wolf movement up to this point right here, around the mummy fight, it's tough to do, but it's not a huge difference from Castle 1. Once you start getting past mummy into like the trio area, the bees area, this is when the movement gets pretty difficult, pretty awkward in parts.
Indeed. Absolutely. Especially like if they go to creature, that's like a hell of an area to go through without bat, because of how the floor is shaped with like uneven surfaces that don't let you shield dash all the way, nor sprint. So that part's really jank to do without bat.
Absolutely. Okay, Fairy Tome, Fairy Journal for Skrimpz. Still nothing. If it's not a trio, it's going to be Gambit time. It's kind of a testament to how good the Fire Shield is. I was expecting Skrimpz to have an easier time with combat here, and it has been easier. Varda Vorpal is just a press the button and win kind of a weapon. But Superds is having these quick fights with the Fire Shield too. It's not a big difference. Fire Shield,
Thing is, like,
for everything except for
yeah.
Dracula, it's a top tier.
Even for Dracula, like if you've got some strength boost, you can easily one-cycle Dracula with it, and enough mana, because it wastes a lot of mana. There's like so many hitboxes flying around that do so much damage, like every other frame or something. It's ridiculous.
On paper, Dracula resists fire, but yeah, if you got some resources you can expend on that fight to boost it a little bit more, it's just, yeah.
What's the one element Dracula doesn't resist?
It's
Is it
ice.
ice?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a coding error. Dracula is supposed to resist the 3 main elementals, fire, electric, and ice, but does not resist ice, and that's one of the reasons that if you have an ice brand, my favorite weapon in the game, that's good enough to win with, just barely. Shout out to the ice brand. Now here, I think Skrimpz just sticks with the Vorpal, but Fire Shield also insanely good on trio.
And he's going classic side, so Grant first. That's good play.
You think there's any reason to go right to left?
I'd go left in this case. Because when you got like a high DPS weapon like this one, or a Alucard shield, or maybe Chrysogrim, you can stun lock Grant so he doesn't go on the ceiling. Whereas if you got, say, a Gerthang or another slow swinging sword, then it's more convenient to go for Scylla first. Sorry, for Cypher.
Gotcha. I think I agree with that. Yeah. Depends on the loadout, but for multi-hits that are strong, like Vorpal or Chrysogrim, left-right is the classic. Now, something I've just noticed is, you know, the movement is bad, and Castle 2 enemies are actually quite scary. I know you're seeing a lot of 1 damage hits on Skrimpz' side. That's because of that Varda. Definitely does have the survival advantage here. We'll see if that's relevant. It'll depend on how that hallway goes for Superds. But yeah, Skrimpz is not opting for the bee skip.
I'm thinking you were not around for season 2, Jupiter, but there was a point where going through the Guardian hallway without any other form of movement was pretty usual, and you just had to like dive kick through the room or maybe shield dash through the room, and it was a nightmare, like really scary stuff.
Yeah, I actually wasn't there. What was the? I think I joined in either season 3 or season 4. That's interesting to hear that it was more common in the past.
Yeah, that was like season 2 safe. It's my all-time favorite preset because of the complexity, the logic, and even though it was jank at times, it was like kind of like a mental test. But it did send you to the second castle pretty early, and without many movement options. And seeing Jewel of Open behind Galamos was pretty usual, actually. Oh, we got the 5th Blood Relic.
And
Go mode for Skrimpz.
we have confirmed 2 things here. Number 1, Beelzebub skip remains a complete and total meme. And number 2, Creature had nothing, probably. I mean, the only out for Creature in this situation is Bat. Wouldn't it be funny if the reason we didn't have Bat this entire race is because Creature gobbled it up? We'll never know. So yeah, barring some kind of a total collapse, or maybe getting comboed by the Guardians, this is Skrimpz' race. Vard is just too powerful. Power of Mist and Mist for backup dodging.
Yeah.
There really aren't any lose conditions here, except for this one hallway.
Nah, he got this.
Oh no! Oh my god! I'm just kidding. Sorry, I wanted to mess with ASD a little bit because of the delay. Nah, he's fine.
Jesus.
He's fine. It's all good. GG's to Skrimpz. I'll go ahead and mark the Varda on here. Hopefully Skrimpz does not make a fool out of me. There we go.
Dude, that scream was so believable. You got me there.
I tried, thank you. Yeah, really great race. So, assuming, of course, that Skrimpz knocks this one out, how do you feel about his route, ASD? Any thoughts?
It was good. It was like 90% what I would have done. So he played very consistently. He chose right. I mean, if he had gone miss first, then he would have taken the bait. So going to caverns without checking all rocks was actually the right play in this case. So yeah.
I think both players did a fantastic job, and I like how both of them were very disciplined. We didn't see any skips, even the more common ones. Like, Skrimpz could have very easily skipped Skull of Bat, and Superds could have very easily skipped Fire of Bat. But both decided to just play discipline, and I like that. In Loser's Bracket, it's going to be more tempting because of the best of one to go a little crazy. But this goes to show that not every Loser's match is going to see wild gambles. We saw 2 top players play in a very disciplined way for a very close finish. So congrats to both.
Indeed. Props to both, indeed. Is Skrimpz swinging a double Vorpal blade or just one?
Time. I believe it was 1.